All right. Okay, you guys can hear me okay? Everything's cool? All right. Sorry about that. So 150 bucks for your painter, 150 bucks for designer if you haven't gotten it yet, and there are also subscription options for you. Um, so what is Substance? Uh, well, Substance is two different pieces of software. We have Substance Designer and Substance Painter. And Substance Designer is really the heavy lifter. That it's building your materials for you to export into Unreal. It's working with PBR, right? And just one second. Sorry, I'm having to get reset up a little bit because of the crash. Okay, sorry about that. So PBR uses a layered material system to create complex materials for Unreal. We could just take what we had inside of ZBrush, our normal map, our ambient occlusion, our color map, and piece it together in Unreal and just work with the tools that we have in Unreal to generate our excuse me, to generate our materials inside of Unreal. But Substance, what Substance does is it gives us a whole plethora of tools to build complex materials and apply all sorts of different maps to our surfaces. So let's take a look at what we have here. At the top left, we have our Explorer, right? This is all of our assets, this is our resources, this is all the graphs that we're creating, as well as the output nodes, diffuse, normal, specular, ambient, emissive, et cetera, whatever we have plugged into our graph, which is here in the center in an outline UI where we can take outputs from maps, plug them into inputs, into PBR materials, and then take those PBR materials and export those into maps that we'll take out. Actually, what we'll end up doing is we will end up exporting multiple materials into Substance Painter, and then we'll start creating masks inside of Substance Painter and modifying things like our normal maps, our specularity using Painter, right? But Substance Designer is really a lot to tackle in one day. So what we're going to do today is we're going to create a very simple graph, right? And then I'm going to ask you to create a couple of different graphs, and that we'll work with on Monday, and then we'll build in some complexity, and then we'll get it ready for Painter. So we're not going to do a straight crit session on Monday. Monday's going to be another lecture, right? Because I want to get you guys some good knowledge inside of Substance, and it's going to take a little bit of time. I was hoping I could do it in like 1-2 hour session. We go through Substance Designer, but it ends up being too deep, and I want you guys to have a little bit more than just a brief introduction to Substance Designer. So continuing on around the UI, you have inside your graph you have these nodes, right? So these are map nodes, and you'll notice on the right-hand side the attributes for those nodes show up as I highlight them. Down in the lower left, we have a library of assets, filters, effects, tweaks to the environment that we have our little PBR preview here, and that exists inside the library. Coming over from that, down at the bottom, we have our 3D view and our scene browser. Right, so in our scene browser, we have camera controls, lighting controls, and showing which material we're displaying on the surface. Right now, I have the default matte that I've created. If I go to default, you'll see that everything disappears in my 3D view. This entire arrangement can be moved around. And I typically undock this guy, my 3D view, and I put it off to a second screen so I can view that much larger, so I can see what I'm actually building out. And I just docked it up at the top, and I did not need to do that. Let's pop that back out and just slide it overlapping here. Nope, not going to let me do it, is it? Anyways, let's go ahead and dock it back down here. But we can bring that out so we can see what our material is looking like on our actual model. So let me go ahead and drop this back in here. Don't crash on me, Substance, and Substance crashed on me. It's all good. There are certain things that you might not see a change in. You're not going to see a change in my ambient occlusion because my MacBook does not support it, or my video card does not support it. Let's go ahead and dock this back in, and I will load up All right, sorry about the crash. Let me rearrange this now. Drop that in there. Let's bring this guy up here. Let's take our console and drop it right in there. And then let me bring my maps back in. Wow, we're just having a lot of technical fun today. All right, and hit the F key to frame my nodes here. All right, so coming back around, let's talk about what you'll see by default. You'll have the grid on in your environment. I like to work with that off, so I'm just talking about some preferences here. My maps, I don't necessarily need to see my map at like a high resolution unless I'm, you know, the only reason why I want to see a thumbnail of it is so I know which map I'm working with it at any given moment or previewing, right? So there's my map. But let's start from the beginning.